Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to have the opportunity to address you at this important international conference on global partnerships for recycling. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person in Cape Town. Europe was the first continent to experience industrialization and urbanization, and it is only now, 3 centuries later, that we have really started to grasp the value of waste and the importance of waste management for our health, for our environment, and also for our economy. Today, developing and emerging economies are experiencing industrialization and new prosperity on a wholly different scale and in a very different global context. I hope that they will learn Europe's experience, good and bad, and decide from the very outset to turn towards a more sustainable and resource-efficient path. In the European Union, our economies are still functioning around a model that developed when natural resources were abundant and cheap. But, as we all know well, this is no longer the case. The natural resources our economies rely on, water, raw materials, energy, are under increasing pressure. If we, in Europe, want to maintain the level of prosperity and wealth we enjoy today, we have no other choice but to change. And this is what we are doing. We are putting in place the necessary conditions to facilitate that change and move towards an economic growth model that is more sustainable, that uses resources more productively, and that recycles them so that they can be pumped back into productive use rather than buried and burned. As world leaders acknowledged at the Earth Summit in Rio last year, managing the natural resource base of economic and social development is one of the essential requirements in this process. And waste prevention and sustainable waste management are crucial elements to this agenda. What we call waste today is, for me, the key to ensure future growth and prosperity. In the European Union, we have set out a number of waste-related objectives that we aim by 2020. To reduce the amount of waste generated, to maximize recycling and reuse, to limit incineration to non-recyclable materials, and finally, to phase out the landfilling of recyclable or recoverable waste. Our aim is to move away from today's linear economy, where we mine, manufacture, use and throw away, towards a more circular economy, where waste is reintroduced in the production cycle as the raw material it originally was. Ladies and gentlemen, many of these objectives are shared beyond the European Union's borders. So I'm very encouraged that the South African PETCO, together with the European Association of Plastics Recycling and Recovery Organization, EPRO, aim to create a global partnership for sustainable recycling. And I'm particularly interested that you are focusing on the recycling of plastic. It is hard to imagine that in little more than 50 years, plastic production has grown from 2 million tons a year to 280 million tons worldwide. Plastic is fantastic. It is durable, adaptable and cheap. But that very durability means that it often outlives the products that it is used for. And that very cheapness means that it is often used for products that are designed to be used once and then thrown away. And the results of poor disposal can be drastic for marine life and for our neighborhoods. If we want to keep the fantastic but get rid of the drastic in plastic, we have to use it wisely and recycle it as much as possible. This is a huge challenge for all of us. In the European Union today, we recycle only about a quarter of our plastic waste. Nearly 50% of plastic is still going to landfill, and much of the remainder is incinerated. There are at least 2 good reasons to try and change this behavior in Europe and also globally. Firstly, plastic waste is polluting the world's oceans. It is a global threat to human health as well as the marine environment. For me, the 100 million tons of plastic waste floating in the oceans, growing by an additional 10 million tons every year, it's a good reason enough to recognize that this challenge requires action at global level. Secondly, plastic waste is an important resource. Most plastics today are petroolefins. They account for around 4% of worldwide crude oil consumption, and another 4% is used as process energy to make plastic. Today we are using this finite resource in an irresponsible way, simply throwing most of it away. Ladies and gentlemen, for all of us, the question today is no longer if we want to move towards the green economy we called for in Rio. It is rather what we need to do to make this transition happen. Effective waste management is a crucial step in this direction. We need to abandon old habits. The resource-intensive and linear economic growth model that has brought Europe wealth and prosperity in the past centuries no longer works. Somehow, we must reinvent the way we function, the way we produce and consume in the 21st century. At the 2012 Earth Summit, world leaders acknowledged the importance of a global transition towards a more sustainable economic growth model. One that will allow us to meet the needs of the additional 2 billion people that will join us by 2050, despite the fragility of the natural resources we rely on. But real change can only happen if it is embraced and encouraged globally. This joint venture shows that we are partners and that we see the future with the same eyes. Your conference facilitates international dialogue, encouraging exchanges on best practice and preparing action for more extended producer responsibility beyond the borders of the European Union. It comes at the right time and it can make a real difference. I wish you a fruitful dialogue with much inspiration and more concrete actions to follow. And thank you for your attention.